I go by he and they pronouns. And as everyone introduces themselves, same format, but also maybe include which organization you're from and maybe what you do or what are your interests, things like that.
Hi, I'm Liam and I go by he, him pronouns. And I'm from Hong Kong. The organization is Quarks Hong Kong, which is focusing on service for transgender youth in Hong Kong. And we mainly provide peer support. And I'm the chairperson of Quarks. And in my leisure time, I usually just watch YouTube videos, and sometimes I really like watching like science fictions or some kind of documentaries, like everything.
My name is Shane Capri, and I go by he, him, they pronouns. I am a high school teacher as well as a theater creator. So I'm not attached with any organization or anything, but in terms of the work that I put out and create, touches base a lot of on like mental health as well as queer narratives in the space of Malaysia and that context itself. What do I do for fun? I play with animals, I rescue animals, I go to the gym when I can. Quite boring, not much. Yeah.
Yes, I am Abby. I'm from the Philippines and I am a member of Bahaghari P. Baguio because I'm still a college student. So, ayun. I was also the gender desk counselor for our university. I was a counselor for the gender desk during my past term. Now I work with youth organization Bahaghari. It's an organization for LGBTQ plus youth in the Philippines. And I am also a member of Transmasculine PH. And my pronouns are he, him. What do I do for fun? When I am avoiding my papers, I like to play Genshin Impact. Yes.
Oh, yes. I play Honkai. Different rep, but yes.
Very same company, yes.
Yeah.
In the previous meeting that we had with trans women, the discussion centered around COVID, and I think we also just want to explore that today to just see whether that also resonates for trans masculine people, trans men in Asia. So I guess the question is, how has COVID been for you, or your communities?
So I think one of the biggest things that a lot of the guys in Malaysia, especially the ones that go down the legal route of getting hormone replacement therapy, there was a lot of shortage of the available hormones out there in terms of medical supply. A lot of companies were also shutting down. I don't know whether they were shutting down momentarily or just for good. So that impacted a lot. I mean, this is just more on the medical side. It impacted a lot of trans mass individuals because then they had to sort of change the hormones that they were on or finding another alternative and spending that little bit more extra money to go see our endocrinologist to just say like, hey, what's going on? Like, I would like to still be able to get access to the legal imports instead of like buying it on like some random site. So that was one of the biggest things that I kept hearing in my circle. The other thing also, and I think this might be relatable for the others as well, would be in terms of physical exercises. So when things were a little bit more tighter and people were not allowed out of the house, physical exercises were something that a lot of people couldn't do and couldn't cope with the dysphoria that they were going through. So there was a lot of mental health issues that were being brought up. And just I think a lot of people were just sort of like ruminating by themselves. So it was a lot of emotional work to just sort of reach out to one another, like, hey, just want to let you know I'm thinking of you. Hey, I love you, that kind of thing.
Thank you. And I see Abi and Liam like just nodding your heads.
I guess it's also the situation of healthcare in the Philippines. Sorry, my dog is noisy. Grabe talaga. The situation in the Philippines is our healthcare is not very advanced. And the first response to COVID was to militarize the country. So instead of medical professionals in the checkpoints, you're going to see the police and the military. And it's very concerning. It's very terrifying for most people because the police and the military, they're one of the biggest killers in the Philippines. It's not only activists they kill. Recently, especially during the presidency of Duterte, if you uh, try to fight for your rights. It's not only us trans people, if also environmental defenders, but it's very scary to see police in situations where there should be doctors. So the healthcare system for us is very challenging, and it's also challenging for trans people because we need uh we need healthcare in order to be able to combat our dysphoria, right? So if you want hormones, you need to go to an endocrinologist, and it's very expensive here. I haven't been able to start yet because I need to save money. It's very challenging, especially now. I used to dorm in my near my college, and I was uh freer to express myself. I was able to be myself, but now I have to stay with my parents, with my extended family. There's 9 of us in the house, and not everyone in this house knows that I'm trans, especially my grandparents, because they're older. They might not accept who I am, so I have to hide it. But my siblings know, and they're trying to be supportive, but it's still very constricting. And uh I guess this is also the same for many of trans youth, because COVID has pushed people back to where they were, like people from the cities going back to their provinces, people from the provinces trying to go to the city to find more work. It's pushing us around, and it's hard to cope, especially when you're a trans person in the Philippines. June is Pride Month, right? And uh this 2020, last year, we our organization Bahaghari, we held a demonstration for Pride Month. We had physical distancing, we wore face masks, we even wore the face shields. We followed all the health and safety protocols, but they were still arrested because they just kept saying that's illegal, that's illegal. But we have the right to assemble, and we were just they were just doing a demonstration because it was Pride. And even though actually it is during these times that we should be more visible, because we are locked in our homes, and sometimes people forget that we exist, and that there is still much that we have to fight for. And that's why we should be more visible. And it's just disheartening when when that is the government's response to us just trying to be visible for Pride Month, and call for the passage of laws such as the SOGI Equality Bill in the Philippines, because we still don't have a law in the Philippines that protects people regardless of their SOGI SC from discrimination. So how about Liam, ganyan? How are you guys in Hong Kong?
I think here in Hong Kong we have we this lucky that we do not have to face that we do not have to worry about the healthcare things, because the gender clinic actually will keep open and help us to get our medicine in a reasonable price. And but it's just weird that only underage transgender people cannot access to the gender clinic and to the healthcare system. So but it's not quite related to the COVID situation, but also like Abby said, that some trans people may have find it harder to find jobs under the situation. Like in my community, I saw that some people who may work in the food and beverage industry, or some maybe worked in some news industry, but they lose their job because of the COVID, and then they find it's really hard to find another job under this situation. But they're still very worried about if they use their if they use their gender they identify as to look for a job is very hard for them. So it's harder for us to organize activities or gathering for peer supports like before. So we have to do things really careful. Some of the LGBT events have to like have to be cancelled or change it to online, or become like our pride parade is cancelled, and some youth may be having depression and anxiety. It will worsen their condition. Yeah.
I also feel that because in our language we have terms like ate and kuya. So these are gendered terms. And then I have come out to my parents, but they're still trying to adjust. So they still call me the feminine term. So sometimes it's whew, you know it's hard, and I sometimes I just want to talk to them and try to make them understand, but it's also hard because they're older than me. I feel like I might disrespect them or something when I do that. But I just want to make them understand, and I don't know how to do it because uh it's hard eh. So parang I understand what Liam is saying and what he's going through when he said that it really takes a toll on one's mental health, especially when it's coming from your family, because it gives a sense of not being accepted. Then yeah.
I think I mean, specifically by Abby, like, I know it's really like difficult when you're trying to like navigate finding yourself and then still being in the same space as a family that possibly wants to but doesn't know how to start. So I mean, just from my personal experience, what I did was I was actually outed much earlier by my brother, and it was obviously like wrong terminology and everything, but and things went downhill from there. But like I made it an active decision to like use that time, and since I was already in a confrontation with my family, I used that time and just sort of like try to just kickstart the ball. And I mean, it's good that your family, now your siblings know at least, whether or not they can understand it. I feel like trans individuals have to take so much more on in regards to the education of, like, not just the educating of other people and helping them find themselves, but it's also like I'm on this journey as well, and having to be able to hold that space for yourself is so important. So like if you have to tune out, you just have to tune out, especially if there's no way that you can run. I mean, like, you're stuck there. Fine. Yeah, if games is an outlet for you to run away from, then do that. But yeah, once I started, like it was always we don't talk about it. You know, like you already said it once, we don't talk about it. When I started like hormone replacement therapy, I was very open about it, but in a very cryptic manner as well. So it's like, it's not on me to educate you all the way. I am your child, I am your sibling. Um, where am I going? You want to be like busybody about that? Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, like, I'm going to the clinic, you know, I'm going to get blood work done. Oh, why? You know, like all these medical things, like, I mean, I think very specifically to Asian families, it's just like, oh, why do you have to do that? Why are you spending money? Then you just said, oh, and then you just say as it is. If they can take it, they can take it. If they can't, then, you know, just, yeah, it's just like having to grow such a thick skin, you know, and especially in the time when you're stuck in like your four walls. I don't know whether you share a room with your siblings as well, but if you don't, then it's like there's that one space of sanctuary that you have to yourself, which that resilience comes from within you. You know, if you need to cry, you need to like let it out. And then once you're ready, you go back into that space of like she, whatever nonsense, whatever they want to call you. But I think it's also very difficult, and this is what I tell a lot of non-binary and trans youth, that sometimes, as much as the transition is difficult for us, it is also difficult for them. And I'm not making excuses for them, but people just don't know where to start. And because when they are confronted by individuals who are so sure of their gender identity, it's like, who am I? Like, I've never even had to ask myself this question before. Like, my child, my sibling is so sure of this. That becomes so scary for them. It's so scary for them to like confront it. So hang in there, man.
No, I'm sorry, I'm crying. It's, I don't know, it's, I guess this is one of the first times I've had an older trans person give me advice. So it's very emotional for me, I guess. But I really thank you, because I guess I never considered it what it would be for them. Like like how I mean, it is hard for us, so it could be also hard for them. Like I guess they're also trying in their way to understand. It's just disheartening when they forget. But you know, there are really times that I can feel that they're trying, and that's what's important. Especially with my siblings, and you know, my mother also, she's trying. And I think that's really one of the important things for us, is to have the support of not just friends but also our families. But if our families don't support us, then we go to our friends. it's it's what's important is we're not alone in our journey, and that we, even in these times of COVID, when we feel isolated, we can still find community in spaces such as this. Grabe, I thought this was going to be an interview. And then suddenly I'm crying.
It has been very hard. So, you know, I mean, our bodies, we hold so much history, so much pain, so much trauma. It's got to go somewhere. Right?
That's true. That's true.
I'm just very honored to be in this space where, you know, we can be so vulnerable, and thank you for helping to create this space. And no, I mean, this wasn't set out to be an interview. It was meant to just be a space, you know, for us all to just come together and say what we really feel, you know, during this important time, you know, during TDOR, you know, which, you know, is an important event, but also for our own lives. So much things have been happening this past year plus. We need a 5 minutes or 2 minutes to just decompress before coming back, or do we want to continue? It's up to people here.
I'm okay with continuing. It was a moment of weakness. Charot. No, really, I'm fine. I think I just needed to get it out of my chest because uh, before I went to college, uh, I went to a private Catholic school and it was an all girls Catholic school. So when I went to college, I really was looking for community, and I'm glad that I found it in organizations such as Baghari and Transmasculine PH. And here, where I can find community not only within the country, but also from places like Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Thailand. So it's very new to me, and I really appreciate this space. Actually, I'm also curious about how trans people are protected by the law in other countries, or if they are actually, do they have like laws protecting us? Because in the Philippines, we have been trying to lobby for a comprehensive GSC equality bill, and it has been there for how many decades, and it still hasn't passed. So I'm curious if there are any laws in other parts of Asia that would protect us.
Uh, Ryan, you might want to help me out on this one as well. But I don't think in Malaysia there's any laws that actually protects us, any of the community. We actually had in the first 2020, when we started going to lockdown, like they started implementing stuff like if they were to suspect that you're a trans individual, they would be able to just catch you. And what happens after that? I mean, we don't want to know. We don't want to find out as well. But it was a scary time. But even before that, already, it was kind of like a we don't talk about it, but they've always given trans individuals shit in just going about our day to day, especially the trans sisters. Like they fear for their lives every fucking day. And I think that's one of the reasons why trans men also don't really talk much about our issues, because we always feel like, oh my God, they're in so much more danger than it is for us, because we kind of fly under the radar. Whereas like, yeah, we don't even know how to help, you know? So it's a lot of like activist work, like coming on and like helping, and it's just trying to get as many people on board to just safeguard you.
Way, because like recently they changed the gender identity disorder clinic into gender identity clinic, and which is a good thing. But in the law, it's still stated that we are we're having mental illness. So it's just really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like, you know, going with like the whole, like the gender clinic and stuff. I mean, we don't have that here per se in Malaysia. But yeah, one of the pointers that I always felt strongly about was the education in the healthcare industry. So we know that the healthcare industry is run by a bunch of like old dinosaurs that do not want to change their mindset. They have only been educated. I mean, they feel like they've studied years and years to become a doctor, and then having to be educated on other things apart from medical, they feel like that's not in their forte or not to be taken on. But I feel like, and I'm not sure where this is also, because I feel like I'm in a space where education now seems to come to a standstill in regards to whether it's educating the youth or educating these old dinosaurs, because we've been trying it. We've been trying it for years, decades even, and you know, like Liam says, you know, it's still stuck in the freaking mental health section when it really isn't, and everywhere else is telling you it's not. So I come from the perspective of the Illuminati, you know, like we all see all, and you know, what better way than to take hold of the other parts of what they control, which would be entertainment. The more that you see, the more that you wash it, like it's kind of like, you know, like I'm going to just rain it all on you all the time. to the point where you're just like, oh my God, again, really, again. So it becomes so normalized to the point where just like, even if somebody who doesn't understand it goes like, oh, you look at that person again, or whatever term that they want to use, but someone's going to be like, what about this person? Did you not see the humanistic side of this character? Then so yeah, so I'm thinking more from like a bigger, like from outside, because in healthcare and all, it's just not my forte. Taking that and it's a different education altogether, because this is, I mean, COVID, everyone's been stuck, you know, listen to music, watch movies, you read, whatever, all these things, it's media, we consume it. So technically, I mean, I feel like that I've given up on the education side of things, and I feel like this might be something that we could possibly work on. Because in education, I mean, in like media, you know, we can tackle anything. We are anything. You know, you can be represented in such a positive light. The words that you say, you know, you choose what you want to say. But then again, you know, this is my creative, artistic, like yay, you know, if we were in a perfect world, this would be great. But I'm still holding out that this needs to change, having more narratives of that will become something else. Because doctors are gonna watch movies as well. They're gonna still somehow glue themselves to the TV. So
You're gonna be watching this, so
yeah. Oh
really
wow.
doing our job.
Oh, I just called them old dinosaurs. Yeah.
I think what Shane said is really important. It's important for us to be visible, because we try to educate, we lobby for our rights, we protest, and that effort is something that should be made visible. I think, especially when cisgender people, they try to be allies, they speak about this issue as well, they should prioritize giving their spaces to people who are part of the struggle, to transgender people, to people who are part of the LGBT community. We should be more visible, and this visibility should not be curtailed by anyone, not even the government, because it's illogical for a government that is supposed to be serving the people to silence the people that they should be serving. Like, it's insane. Like, eh, they can't even do their job right with the COVID in the Philippines. They're not doing their job right. Whether it's to educate, whether it's to be more represented in the media, whether it's to lobby for the codification of our rights. This visibility should not stop there. We should also make people listen. It's not enough. We are not represented in a way that humanizes us, because we are also human, and that's what people seem to forget. That's why it's important that you should listen to us.
If we want, we can just do a final round of just maybe 1 or 2 sentences, like maybe just a message to trans people listening, or to allies, or to soon to be allies.
While we have lost a lot of lives over these many years, I think it's also important to remember the celebration of, because they were not celebrated. And yeah, they may not be here, but like adding on, you know, there are so many others that are here. And when others celebrate these people who have passed away, they feel comfortable enough to come forward and say, hey, that small action of you just saying that or doing that made me feel at home.
We remember not only the people who have died, who were killed because of their gender identity, who were discriminated against, but we should also remember the people who are alive right now. Remember that we have a community. Remember that we are here, and that we exist, and that we can find strength in each other. And for people who are not part of the transgender community, it's important that to listen to us as well. Listen to us, and give your platform to people who need it, because straight people usually listen to straight people. So if you're like, if it's like that and you want to be an ally, you could help by giving your platform to organizations, to LGBT and trans organizations, especially during this Transgender Day of Remembrance, where we remember all transgender people.
I think this reminds me of people who have been stuck in the thoughts of that they cannot change the situations, and they're really desperate about like the situation they're facing. But I want to tell them, even those yeah, we have lost many lives, but we still have the chance to change. And now we have the community, we can support each others. And for the allies, and you don't have to really like do like a huge things. Like you can actually do some small actions, like when you are in your when you're talking with your friends, or in your school, or in your work. If you have a transgender friends around you, or you just it just we just need simple words, or like some very simple supports, or when you see them being when they're facing discrimination, or like anything that's negative, you can just say a word, or you can just support them by with your privilege of being a cisgender people or straight people, and then that's actually already means a lot. Yeah.
Just sharing a little bit more, just my own personal experience. I joined this gym and I signed up as, male pronouns, everything, even though my identity card said something else. But that experience sort of changed my life, because the owner of the gym immediately latched on, and he knew that I was trans, and so was my friend. But he never said anything, and he just made it super like comfortable for us. Um, and then one day we were all in the male changing room, and he didn't bat an eyelid whatsoever. He just made it as seamless as possible. He said, "Hey, so I know that you guys are trans. Has anyone been giving you any issues here in the gym?" And we're like, "We're in the male changing room. This feels extremely intimidating." And then I think I had to eye my friend, because my friend was really uncomfortable. I was a little bit more comfortable, so I eyed him, and then I think he noticed, the owner noticed. And I think it's in what Liam says, this backs up what Liam says in terms of like all the small little actions that you do. So just him like asking, and just being so comfortable by still changing and taking off his pants and everything, and like just having this whole conversation with us, like it's nothing, he just treated us like any other person that's in the male changer room. And what stayed with us was like, if you run into any issues with anyone, tell me. And it wasn't because tell me so I will sort it out, but it's like, tell me so I can handle that person for you. And immediately for us, there was a sense of relief, like, what just happened? But like, that was ages ago, but it still stays with us until now, for a cis person to just do that for us. Yeah.